All right, today I'll be talking about teen dieting, i.e., cutting as a teen. I'm going to go over the risks, gender specific concerns, some medical insights, and then I'm going to briefly touch on how to do it safely as a teen, not with calorie restriction. So, the risks of cutting as a teenager: hormonal and developmental concerns. We have hormone imbalance. So, cutting calories for a long period of time can lead to hormonal crashes affecting the body's development. Now, this doesn't mean that if you don't eat enough one day that your hormones are going to crash. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you do a you know, 6 month cut, for example, as a 13 or 14-year-old, when you're just hitting puberty and a lot of body changes are happening, a lot of hormonal changes. I believe it's somewhere around, like in the 20s, 20 nanograms per deciliter testosterone level pre puberty, which is the equivalent of, females as well. So, where I was going with that is your testosterone is going to increase rapidly. And if you are, in a deficit for a long period of time, you're not giving your body what you need to properly develop. Some hormonal issues can also come from very low body fat and severe calorie restrictions. And again, we're talking long term. Physiological issues. So, insufficient energy intake can hinder physical development. Kind of what we just talked about. If you aren't putting enough into the system, you're not going to get as much out. So, if you're malnourished, which, most cuts would be as a teenager since you're not even preparing all your own food, so you're probably going to eat really low quality foods or severely under the amount of calories that you need. This means that you're not going to develop to your potential. Psychological risks. So, this is a big thing, not only in the community, but in reality as well. So, we have a lot of people that develop eating disorders when they're a teenager. You don't like the way you look. You hear online, okay, calorie deficit. If I just don't eat at all, then I'll lose weight. Which, sure, on paper is true. But that approach comes with a lot of negative side effects, a lot of which we're going over right now. This develops an unhealthy relationship with food. You'll more than likely have to go to therapy to sort it out. And it's better to just have a good relationship with food and develop sustainable habits than to go through a all or nothing approach. And similar to the other ones, delayed hormonal peaks for males. I mentioned this. So your hormonal peak doesn't occur till 22-ish. So cutting can inhibit this. Even with the literature, I still think that's a little high. Yes, your hormonal peaks are there, but you're not going to be developing physically as much, post 17, 18. No more growth spurts and whatnot. So let's talk about a safer approach. And I want to add one here. So doctor supervision, if you're morbidly obese class 2, 3, then definitely consult with a doctor. Talk about weight loss. Talk about your options. If you're just a little bit overweight, there's plenty of other things you can do. So we have calorie deficit, slight calorie deficit through cardio a few days a week is the healthiest route. Now, this doesn't mean 500 calories. This doesn't mean 1,000 calories. This means 1 to 200 maybe. And I just want to touch on the fact, also avoid crash dieting. I just mentioned don't go over 500 calories. A lot of severe side effects with doing that long term. Now, what is a way you can, approach this safely in addition to these? I often tell a lot of teenagers, if you cut out the junk, you give your body what it needs nutritionally, and you just exercise more, increase your activity, go play sports, go outside, go for a walk, do stuff, that'll generally lead you to a better body composition and develop a better relationship with food over time than crash dieting, hating your body, and developing an eating disorder. So, let's talk about some gender specific concerns and then some medical insights. So, we scroll down a little bit. So, these severe calorie deficits or hard cuts as a teen are very impactful with puberty and especially with girls' puberty. So they usually peak sooner, so the risks generally decline after 16 for girls, but it's still very important that both male and female approach this with caution. Now, some medical insights from the National Library of Medicine. Nutritional deficiencies, growth deceleration, menstrual irregularities for the girls, bone health, and purging risks. All terms that I blanketed over earlier. If you're not putting in enough, you're not getting out enough. And if you don't develop healthy, sustainable relationships now, they can snowball and lead to more detrimental side effects and poor relationships with food down the line.